This flat tire needs a man, but when there's no man around, when there's no man around, Goodyear should be. Why? Watch this. New Goodyear Double Eagle carries its own spare inside. Lifeguard safety spare. A tire in a tire. Keeps on going. Next time, give her a second chance.
Lynch took off at 7:45 a.m., flew 2,949 miles, made 3 stops. And most of the trip still lies ahead. Now there are schedules to check, flight reports to make. A quick supper with friends before turning in. Next morning, on the go again at 6:15. Then St. Louis, Cincinnati. Finally, New York. Glamour job. Mary Ann has made dozens of runs like this, served hundreds of hot meals, greeted thousands of new people. It all demands a lot of charm and works out to a lot of Coke. Does Coca-Cola have the taste you never get tired of? Do we mean it when we say Coke is always refreshing? Is things go better with Coke after Coke after Coke just a slogan? Write Miss Mary Ann Lynch, Trans World Airlines, Box 7144, St. Louis, Missouri. She'll tell you.
Coca-Cola has the taste you never get tired of. Always refreshing. That's why things go better with Coke after Coke after Coke.
Your attention, please. Please do not smoke in the terminal building. Smoking is only permitted in the specified smoking areas.
Zach.
Thank you.
OG, I throw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money, you change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas is low. Run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I make that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang. And we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight. Cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day. They still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. Lil' mama, she bad but complain. Cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane and go get this money with Gucci. I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang.
I get the bag with the gang. Taking that Zach to the bank. And it be all in my drink. You niggas is stupid, you think that shit change? You not even hot in your gang. Ain't nothing even hot about your gang. You niggas be lying about saying, be posting them pictures of guns for the fame. Niggas just look at me different now. Say that's your man, but he a clown. Don't fuck around with the fuck arounds. Little nigga, you should cut it out. Me and my niggas take different routes. Punch a bitch nigga all in his mouth. Hold up my nigga, we different now. I need a Robert, this is my style. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I get a bitch today, she probably a foreign model. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I'm with my gang today, tomorrow never promise.
OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
I think I'm cute, I know I'm sexy, I've got the look that drives the girls while I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines, I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy, I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. Let's go! I'll make them hot. I'll make them shiver. Things get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk. They hear me talk. I make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. That mic out, girls. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Welcome, welcome. Welcome everybody to Late Night Counter Apologetics. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast, and as always, folks, I am in airplane mode. Folks, we've got another great show lined up for you this evening. What else would I do? I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do with my show myself besides put together great shows for you. Before we get into today's activities, let's go ahead and get into our communion. We are linked up at the Flying Man Cafe. You can feel free to join us. I'll post the link in a second. Let's go ahead and get into our communion. Please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man. All glory and honor is yours who flied for our sins forever and ever. You may drink. For our communion song, it comes to us from Foy Vance. This one is called Where Everybody Knows Your Name.
Dublin, and he's going to play us out. Foy, you're going to play what to finish us up?
Do you know what? I don't know the name of this song actually, but I know the song, and so will you.
Oh, look forward to this. Foy Vance, take it away.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Well, all those nights when you got no lights and the check is in the mail,
Melody,
and your little angel hung the collared by its tail. Your third fiancé didn't show.
Logan Fisher was first.
Well, sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and you're always glad they came. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
Melody Joy is second.
Well, you get out of bed and the coffee's dead. The morning isn't looking bright.
And you see love is third.
You shrink right off to Europe and he doesn't even write. Your girlfriend says she's not a girl.
I got Logan, Melody, you see love, Crystal, Cameron, you
Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
Foy Vance. Most common word coming in by text, Foy, is goosebumps.
All right, gang. I'm hoping that Spartan will come through. All right, he said he'll hop on around 9:30. All right, so hopefully Spartan will hop on and we'll have a chat with him. In the meantime, if anybody else wants to hop on, we're in the Flying Man Cafe. In the meantime, I want to show y'all something that I was watching that Matt Dillahunt debate that y'all. I always have a tendency to say bait. I don't know why. But that Dillahunt debate that people were talking about, and there was a particular exchange from it that came in, and, you know, I really want to deal with it. Crystal, not sure what's going on with your sound. I just finished testing the stream for like 3 hours, and the sound was fine. I'll check it out in a minute, but... I'll play this moment for you guys, and you'll hopefully see what I'm getting at here. All right, thanks, Cameron.
Just a claim.
Try refreshing,
so here's the bigger question: what evidence is God incapable of providing
in order to win everybody to himself?
I mean, couldn't God just show up right now in the middle of this debate, demonstrate conclusively to all of us
gang. Appreciate the
that
feedback.
he is in fact God, and that these stories are true and consistent with reality in a way where it's rational?
No, because that would be coercion versus compelling.
That's not coercion. That's how we've demonstrated every other claim. When somebody says, hey, this is the truth, and you provide evidence for it, that's not coercion. That is the demonstration. That is what makes it rational. Why would it be the case that God providing evidence is somehow coercive?
All right, now look, this is something that I have heard, I don't know, umpteen times. I know we're getting kind of audio feedback here, so I'll roll it back so you guys can hear it one more time. It's really profound. Just think about how straightforward the question is, but how frequently we get this response as though it's the natural, straightforward, only response that makes sense. I don't even know how you could answer this question any other way.
Is God incapable, which we have evidence and is considered?
Right,
what evidence?
What evidence
is God incapable of providing?
Simple question. You've got this God. He's bigger than big, stronger than strong, smarter than smart. He literally created the universe. He orchestrated all the events in the Bible. He's continuing to order our steps. He's literally omnipresent. Okay? So simple question. This all-powerful, infinite God, what evidence can he provide? Like, it's y'all know the Dillahunt question. What do you believe and why do you believe it? What do you believe and why do you believe it? I ain't gonna lie to you, y'all. That's the $1 million question. This whole channel, like, in many ways, this whole community springs forth from that motherfucking question. I'll never forget it. I'll never stop asking it. It really, to be honest with you, doesn't even need a remix. 20 years from now, we will be staring these retards in the face, asking them two simple questions. What do you believe? Why do you believe it? And the motherfuckers will not be up to the task then, as they are not up to the task now. But it's a little bit of a flippity flip. I guess when you're Matt Dillahunt, you've been doing this for 30 fucking years, you just gotta mix it up every once in a while. What evidence is your God incapable of providing? What? Head scratcher. Head scratcher. It's the same fucking question, head scratcher. But it just flips the whole paradigm. All right, look, let's stop forgetting what I want. You just tell me what your God can't do. Just tell me what he can't do.
In order to win everybody to himself?
And immediately the Christianese, in order to win everybody to himself. Nigga, all we said is what evidence is God not capable of providing in order to win everybody to... Whoa. Slow down. Man, they just so happy to hear everybody's interested in joining their cult, huh?
Couldn't God just show up right now in the middle of this debate,
right now?
Demonstrate conclusively to all of us that he is in fact...
Yeah, I felt the tap on my shoulder. I thought it may be God just showing up right now to tap me on my shoulder. I'm just fucking with you. It wasn't. But that's the point. Why couldn't God just... Oh, no, it's me. Yeah, it's really me, Pocket Locker. Oh shit, is it? Oh shit. Oh, it really is you. Shit. All right. I'm gonna end the stream right now, and I'm gonna go away and think about the fact that God just tapped me on my shoulder right now. Right? Right? How many of these streams do you think I got to do? Gang, put your estimate in the chat. How many followers do I have before God will think me worthy of his time to show up? Man? Because I seen a whole lot of people with them silver YouTube plaques. You know, them little 100,000 subscriber plaques or whatever. Ain't none of them ever got a story about God tapping them on the shoulder. William Lynn Craig ain't got no stories about God tapping him on the shoulder. I mean, goddamn it, Ken Hovind got damn near 250,000 subscribers. He don't got no stories of him tapping God on the shoulder. And he used to be a real fucking Christian TV star and everything. So what y'all think? Y'all think if I get up to that Pac-Man range, couple million subs, you think then God will tap me on the shoulder? See, I don't think so. Y'all don't think so. It's just interesting. Very interesting.
Back to God. And that these stories are true and consistent with reality in a way where it's rational.
No, because that would be coercion versus compelling.
That's not coercion. That's how we've demonstrated every other claim. When somebody says, hey, this is the truth, and you provide evidence for it, that's not coercion. That is the demonstration. That is what makes it rational. Why would it be the case that God providing evidence is somehow coercive?
Well, why can't I just say, prove to me you're my friend right now?
What's up, Fatih?
You can say that. You just did.
Would you want to prove that to me?
I don't know that I am your friend, but we could then decide.
Let's say you're a close buddy. Why in the world would I say, Matt, prove to me right now you're my friend? I mean, nothing about, like, give me $10 right now, and then I'll know you're my friend. And God's not going to play that kind of game, right?
God doesn't even show up to entertain.
I know, how ridiculous.
God is like, I've got a girlfriend who goes to another school and you don't know her. That's the level there. This isn't like, prove to me that you're a friend. I would be happy to have God demonstrate that he even exists, let alone whether he's a friend. To make an analogy like that, to say, hey, would you be willing to prove you're my friend? First of all, yes. We can have a conversation about what friends are and everything else. What I asked was, what evidence can God not provide? And you said that demonstrating the truth of his claims would be coercive. And I'm like, even if it were coercive, which I don't think it would be, the question was, what evidence can God not provide?
Oh boy, here we go.
So,
JG, you're on the immediately block list. So I don't know. I highly doubt that I should really wait the 3 minutes it's going to take for you to say something else that makes me block you, but I'm not here for the fucking bullshit from the chat. I think JG's for wasting my time. I like to keep a clean chat of genuine participation of people who are here to support the content and participate in the conversation, not trolls who come to atheist communities to trigger them in defense of Jesus. So, yeah. We'll go with a little preemptive timeout. Just a little preemptive timeout. That way you can just chill out, take a deep breath, start with hello, think about what you say. If what you say is not going to be welcome here, probably don't say it. All right, here we go.
Exactly where I'm going, I'm guessing. I'm quoting Blaise Pascal when I say that. When he talks about how God gives us just enough evidence to connect with our heads and our hearts in order for us to make a free decision, rather than coercively just showing up and saying, you better believe in me. Here it is.
Now, gang, what I do find it hard to believe is that grown people reason like this. So let me get the Christian claim straight. If I say, hey, God, give me a quick little tap on the shoulder,
Say, hey, Jay, I know there's a lot of rumors about me being real or not. I just want you to know it's me. I'm God. Good to see you. I really authored the book. I inspired it. You know, keep on keeping on. I'll see you at the pearly gates. Deuces. That would somehow be coercive. What do you think the message of the creator of the universe who gave you life, but you were fucked up because Rib Woman ate an apple, you were cursed to eternal torment, you are literally going to burn in hell forever, but Jesus titty fucking Christ lived a perfect life. He came down to earth. He was joyous and wonderful. He literally never sinned, never harmed a soul, never did anything wrong to anybody. And they fucking murdered him for you. And then he rose from the dead 3 days later for you. And if you don't accept his fucking righteous sacrifice, then he's going to fucking cast you in the valley of Gehenna when your ass dies, and you're going to be tormented forever. Christians, please don't ever say this to me. Please don't, because I'm going to go off on you, and you deserve it. This is a stupid, insulting, and low IQ thing to say. Jesus titty fucking Christ hits you with the ultimate of threats. His believers are constantly reminding you of just how fucked up you are gonna be if you don't worship him. But somehow, no, UC Love, I don't think you should be charitable to someone who condemns you. Don't. Nope. I think that's what the cult does to maintain the status quo. See, it's in the cult's best interest if you continue to be nice and acquiesce to the cult. So the cult, who doesn't want to change, who doesn't deserve respect, wants to demand respect from you because that's a benefit to them. It's a huge benefit. It only benefits them. Why do I say that? Everybody else has to earn the respect. I can't threaten you guys. I can't start calling motherfuckers in this chat out right now and threatening them and expecting them to continue to be my subscribers, continuing to be my friends, continuing to want to associate with me. But under Christianity, I get to do that. I don't have to meet the bar, but I get to demand respect. I get to demand that you tell me I'm intelligent. Demand that you tell me I'm nice. I demand that you tell me I'm a good person. I demand that you tell me I'm honest. I demand that you tell me I'm trying to grow. I demand that you acknowledge that I'm just doing my best to try to find the truth. I demand. I never meet the expectations. I just demand. And this is the type of shit we get in return for it. Ask a simple fucking question. Why can't Jesus, the all-powerful, boom, he could have just turned this can into a fucking Jesus right now, and just said, hey, man, it's little pixie Jesus. I'm here to remind you, Jesus is real. See you later. Poof. Somehow that would be coercive. Spartan, I want to talk about how you can still be a Christian after that conversation we had in Lupin's channel the other night. I mean, it was great that you were on our side of this thing, but I don't know how you're going to win over your quote unquote fellow Christians. And it seems like it's eventually just becomes time to stop being a Christian. But yeah, man, hop in. The link is pinned there. And yeah, we'll definitely chat about it. You're you're popular around these parts, so you're definitely someone we want to talk to. You're not under suspicion of forget suspicion. We don't think we know you're not a troll or whatever. So yeah, people wanting to chat with you. But yeah, I appreciated your support the other night. But yeah, I wanted to chat with you about it and realized Lupin's channel probably wasn't the place for it. So yeah, we can catch up. But yeah, guys, I really just think that we hear this all the time, don't we? Like this response that the person gave to Matt Dillahunty, that God, showing himself, revealing himself would be coercive because he would be proving himself to us. And then they turn around and literally tell us about all the times he proved himself to us. Right? Well, he showed up and he killed. There was a global flood, and he struck down the Tower of Babel, and he created the earth, and then there were the prophets. I mean, they literally are constantly telling us all the way God forced himself into the human narrative and literally gave us no choice but to accept him. But now asking for him to show up is coercive. I mean, I've heard this so many times, y'all, but when Matt Dillahunty really laid into him about it, I was like, yeah, this one has to go, Christians. This one has to go. This is amongst all your arguments and dumb shit you say, amongst the dumbest. Don't get me wrong. I think all Christian apologetics is literally bottom of the barrel. That's the definition of it. But this is maybe under the barrel or something. It's really bad, and also have a little bit more sensitivity. Coercion is really a strong word right now. There's a lot of talk about force and coercion and assault, a lot of that going on, and for you to insist that us asking for your God to demonstrate that he exists and then insist that that's coercive, I mean, man, persecution complex much?
No,
I'm right here right now. And secondly, but Matt, secondly to that point, that's simply going to be a type of
Spartans and gather. Great. I think that's good. All right. Hey, Spartan.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, thinking about that conversation, that Lupin guy. I haven't seen any more of his streams since, or maybe I watched a little bit that next day, but whatever. I haven't watched much of his stuff.
Sure. So, I mean, what's your take on, sort of the LGBT issue with Christianity? So for those that don't know, we're in a Lupin stream, and Lupin was trying to basically say he's not a hateful person for his anti-queer stance.
Yeah, he had that guy at the Pride parade or whatever.
Yeah, and he just but then he was pulling out the typical, biblical passages. The Bible says, for man to lie with man as he does with woman is an abomination, and surely they shall be put to death. So, yeah, I mean, before we get into that, like, what is your actual take on,
Yeah,
people?
I mean, I'm like fully affirming, like I have no issue. I would go to a church where there was like a whatever non-binary female pastor or whatever. I don't know all the exact way to say that or whatever.
Sure.
But all that's to say, I don't really care. I think that's all. Like, we should be supportive. And like, I just did a podcast that'll probably come out Monday. We did it live, but we took it down just to edit out certain parts of it. But it'll be up early next week, where we just talked about LGBT stuff. Me and my buddy John. So, and we're both Christians. So, yeah. So if you really want like my point of view, there's like an hour conversation that'll be up. But all that to say, yeah, I think he's just totally wrong in so many ways. And like, I think one big point I would like to get up right off the bat is like, one of the main reasons I'm fully affirming.
Hang on, Lena. You were in the chat that night with us, I think. It was the one he was going off about LGBT and he was showing up the scriptures. Like we were in the chat together that night. I think.
He was reviewing a video of another guy at like a pride parade that was like yelling the Bible over like a microphone or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is just annoying and rude and stupid no matter where you do that. Like, first off, just want to say that. Like, I don't care what you're yelling over the microphone. Like, most people don't want to hear it.
Sure. So
yeah,
I'm with you. Like, okay, like when I was a Christian, I was LGBT affirming, right? But I was that way because I hadn't really come to grips with the biblical worldview. I, just assumed God is good, Christianity's good. I get to take whatever the good stance is and then call it Christian because Jesus is love.
No, I see what you're saying. And like, how do you actually, like, the more you look into it, the more you realize like you're just disagreeing with the Bible or disagreeing with Christianity, basically. So like, why are you a Christian? Is that kind of where you're...
Yeah, now to be honest with you, like when I was a Christian, like I said, I didn't really realize it. And because I didn't really realize it, I didn't obviously I was still a Christian, so I didn't leave the church, certainly didn't leave the church because of that. Now, the way I currently view the world, not being a Christian anymore, I certainly feel that there are a lot of absurdities about the faith that just make it patently not true. And, that's sort of my biggest problem, right? But when I look at all the adult years I spent as a Christian, I'm disappointed that I didn't leave the faith because of the anti-LGBT stuff, because to me that represented a moral failure of remaining a Christian. Like, it was one thing for me to say, like, I'm not caught up in this, evolution thing, or, okay, like, people don't believe it. But when I really started to accept that there are actually things that the Bible either authorizes, says, or, gives a tacit nod of approval to, I started to realize that continuing to believe those things was immoral. And so that bothers me. And I know that it seemed to really bother you, right? So, I mean, that's kind of why I knew you were like, really upset with Lupin that night. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's tough now. Hey, James, I noticed James is here.
Oh, hey, James.
Hey, guys. I got my mic muted so I don't interrupt you guys.
Okay, yeah. I want to respond.
Go ahead, Spartan.
Yeah, so, like, a lot of what you're saying there, I totally resonate with for sure. And it's like, I mean, a big part of the difference, I think, is like how I view the Bible. But it also has a lot to do with like how I became a Christian. Like, I became a Christian when I was like 25 or 24. So I don't know. I think that's probably a bit different, where like I never got wrapped up in fundamentalism, or I mean, I sort of did, but I was never like really a part of it. I never, whatever. All that to say, yeah. So I think that helps me to like have a much more flexible understanding of what Christianity is, I guess, is why I was getting at that. Because if you grow up in a certain understanding, and not to say like you're wrong, like I totally see the point of view where like someone's too flexible and like they're just making up their own thing that's not Christianity, and why are they still calling it Christianity? I totally understand that. And I ask myself that same question sometimes. I think I still feel perfectly comfortable considering myself a Christian, but I mean, I'm also comfortable understanding that there's a lot of Christians that wouldn't want to consider me a Christian, for universalism being so strong on that, and pretty far left politically, stuff like that, affirming LGBT. I mean, totally anti-capitalist, yeah, I consider myself like a pacifist somewhat, but I don't know, like all these things. So all these things are like pretty big disagreements within Christianity for sure. So like, when does it cross the line to become something different? I'm just not a Christian anymore, I think is a really interesting question. Yeah, I don't want to ramble on too much. Is that kind of like,
No,
I think that
yeah, it's a good response. James, did you want to get in here before we keep going?
we can't hear you, James, or at least I can't if you're talking.
No, maybe he's not talking.
Oh, sorry, I was.
Go ahead,
one of my neighbors' houses is on fire. So
oh, really?
looking outside. Usually when the red, lights are strobing, it's just like an ambulance or something. But yeah, they got the fire hoses and everything going. So.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, I was AFK, but I was listening.
Did you want to add anything at this point?
Go Spartan.
Go Spartan. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think we all are more a fan of your type of Christianity than fundamentalist, obviously, right? My thing is, we have a problem, right, with LGBT people. Like, it's not safe for them.
Yeah, I guess I could. Yeah, not to cut you off. I want to add and then I'll let you go. Just like a minute. And like the one big question is not necessarily like the way I just went on about like beliefs and do they line up or whatever, but it is also, am I participating and supporting a system that is harming other people and not helping? And that's a big question. I think that's kind of what you're getting at here, but you can go ahead. Yeah, I hope that.
Yeah, and it brings a certain sense of urgency. Like, I'm not as comfortable reaching sort of like an impasse. Like to me, if I got Christians going, hey, we're really, LGBT affirming, and then we got the other Christians going, well, the Bible says, surely they shall be put to death. I'm like, what do we do, right? Because we can't keep going, right? So either we need more of you guys to like come over and just say, hey, look, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it at the time, but yeah, it turns out that Christian, that's a form of bigotry, and I need to leave that alone. Or, let's go ahead and convince the Lupins and the rest of the people that you're right, and that they shouldn't take the Bible so literally, and that it's okay to be flexible. But my genuine feeling is they don't compromise. Like, that's not going to happen, right? Like, they're just not, they're not. And I think we're all being a bit optimistic, to put it mildly, to think that we're going to get them to betray the Bible. Like, I just don't see it. Because I think that's where the problem comes in. And I'm trying to wrestle with the same thing with my own family, Spartan, right? Because I have a cousin that's a lesbian, and she was estranged from the family for many years growing up. I'm sure I got enough younger cousins by now. One of them got to be, at least a couple of them probably LGBT as well, And so it really did affect my family. And we've tried to patch things up since then, but I feel like we've just swept it under the rug, right? And even like the church I played at, which is, feel good, love of Jesus, everybody's welcome. You don't even have to be a Christian to show up on Sunday morning. We just want to love on the neighborhood type of church. When it comes to becoming a member, when it comes to signing their statement of faith, it's blah, blah, blah. Jesus is the creator and the most high, da, 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 da. Marriage is a sacred union between a man and a woman. I mean, so even in the reasonable, love of Jesus based churches, right? A lot of them are still creationists. They're still pretty anti-science. They're still pretty anti-evolution. And then part of that is they're still anti-LGBT. Even if it's not to the point of going on like Lupinville and make a stream about it, they still buy into the idea that marriage is a sacred union between a man and a woman. They will put that in their statements of faith. I mean, at some point, I can't look the other way anymore, right? It's doctrinal, right? It's not the individuals. I'm not saying, hey, you individual Christian, you're hateful, but at some point I just can't overlook the fact that that's in the doctrine, and the doctrine can't be rewritten.
No, that's fair. That's fair, and that's interesting. Because you're right, like it's like culture is moving much quicker than like whatever church, like popular culture. I don't know what you want to call it, but I think it like there was like a lot of Christians were pretty hateful, and then like it turned to most Christians like just don't talk about it, right? And now we're to the point where like that's really not acceptable either. Like,
right,
you can't just not talk about it but still be against it. Then you're hateful. You know what I mean? Then you're supporting hate.
And then it goes even worse because then I shouldn't say even worse, but it becomes a thing where it's unspoken now, right? There's the assumption that we all share this particular bias, or we don't have to speak out against it. Lena said, if I went to the local liberal, non-denominational, quote, Jesus loves everyone church and tried to rip out those Old Testament passages, do you think they'd be happy about that? No.
No, but I will say, like, I don't believe you have to rip them out. Like, I think there's an understanding of ethics and culture and things that, like, you know, I mean, I don't think anywhere in the Bible, even like New Testament, that there's any sort of conception of sexual identity like we have today, right? Like, they didn't understand people identifying as gay or trans or anything like that. That wasn't a thing. That's not what the Bible's talking about. So I don't think you have to rip them out, but I do think you have to change the way.
Do you think it's talking about something different?
I mean, I think might be talking about two men having sex, but it's in like a certain situation or culture or thing. It wasn't about like two men who are gay and love each other.
I don't buy that at all. Don't buy that at all. I actually think.
I mean, the concept of being gay wasn't around.
It was. Absolutely was. Absolutely was. I think.
Okay, then I could be. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely change my mind, but that's the way I understand it.
I think we've always. And I don't think we've always had queer people. I think we have cultures that try not to preserve them as part of our history, and I think that tells you right there what their attitudes were. But I absolutely think that was an assault on homosexual people. And I even think sometimes when we argue that, we're taking it out of context. I mean, the context is these were very, I hate to say this, they were religiously fundamental, zealot Jews who absolutely, I believe, were 100% homophobic. And
oh yeah. I'm not denying that. Yeah,
I think that is the context, and that's who wrote it, and that's another issue with liberal interpretations of the Bible overall, because you have people who I'm going to give them credit and say on a sunny day they are not religious zealots, but the Bible is clearly written by and for in an effort to promote a zealotist type religion. I mean, so it is, and it's tough for me, right? Because here's the thing, Spartan, we like you, right? And a lot of us, I think, see you as you know, someone we really like, and then to me, I'm just like, well, then where's that next step? Because to me that becomes sort of a it's almost like a call to action. It's like telling people, smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share with a friend. But there does come a point where we want people to do something, right? And what I feel like I get a lot of times is people, they spend years butting up against the problems with Christianity, but nibble all around the bush instead of just going, Christianity is the problem, and then let's just try to move forward. And I think the hardest part for me when I was going through this was I didn't feel like I had anybody helping me move forward. I felt like I deconstructed by myself and then found this YouTube community years later. And so I'm trying to give you guys the benefit of the doubt, which is like, you know, it's a total different thing to be out here sort of, in my mind, pre-deconversion or as a Christian, right? But let me give you an example, right? I don't know if you know who like Peter W. is, right?
I see him in the chat.
See him in the chats, right?
Yeah.
So Peter W. is somebody I have no hope for. He's just an antagonistic person who is a Christian, and he doesn't really, he's never going to give us a good reason as to why. He just emotionally is. And to be honest, he's kind of emotionally abusive to us because at the end of the day, he's here to defend his Christianity. And he'll play nice for a while, but when the rubber meets the road, he's a Christian. He's going to put his Christian hat on and act like a Christian. And so I really, you know, I don't take him seriously at all, right? But because he's never going to take that step, right? And at some point, I think that's actually really sad, right? Because it means you know, I'm an evolutionary biologist. So is Gustick Gibbon. It means you can sit through hours of our stuff and just go in one ear, out the other. You know, you hear people talk about Christianity is abusive for hours. You spend, Peter W.'s case, years watching Christian versus atheist debates. The Christian never wins a single one of them ever, right? So to me, he's just off the reservation. But there are a lot of other people who are just like learning and growing and moving in the right direction. But I do wonder, you know, is it a point that they don't know enough, or is it more of a identity thing, right? It's just hard to let go of the label.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And for sure, I mean, yeah, I mean, Christianity is a lot of things. Like, it's like, there's things you believe, obviously, are part of it, but there also is, like, a community you're a part of. And, you know, like, so, yeah, it's definitely complicated for sure. I totally see what you're saying. It's, yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to, like, change my mind in 2 seconds or whatever, because it does. But, yeah, I mean, to me, it definitely comes down to, like, the one important thing is if I saw what I was doing was, like, because I argue with conservative evangelical Christians. I mean, most of my interactions on, like, Twitter are arguing with other Christians. Most of the things I do are arguing with other Christians.
I appreciate that. Certainly.
Yeah, and it almost seems to me like, I guess in my head, like, I think I still see myself as a Christian, and I think I'm doing good by trying to help other people see that, like, these things I believe are just absolutely ridiculous. But if I saw that, like, me calling myself a Christian was worse and only hurting people, that would be the number one way I think I would, like, change. But it just, to me, like, yeah, I don't know exactly where I'm going, but I totally, and then there's, like, you're right, like, there's these people that just are not going to change their mind no matter what you say, and that's the type of Christianity I just don't I don't want to be a part of, like, so sure about everything. Like, to me, this is just the best way I see to make sense of what I see that's in front of me, essentially. You know what I mean? Like, we all have our reality that we take in, which is comprised of many things. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're talking to each other on a stream, but obviously there's much more going on in my life and your life. So, you just got to make sense of what's in front of you. And to me, it's Christianity just is true. Like, I mean, there's reasons I have, sure, but like, I don't know. I'm not that kind of Christian. Like, I'm definitely not like an evidentialist or whatever. Or
so
like
you believe fundamentally Jesus died for your sins. He rose from the dead, and you believe in him, so you're going to live forever.
The easiest way I would describe like my understanding is that, like, yeah, I mean, I do believe that. Sure. I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole. Yeah, I mean, I do believe that Jesus died. I don't believe that like typical evangelical understanding of like why Jesus died and like God wanted to punish us and all these things.
No, the reason I asked is because I kind of we're just having a conversation, which is always nicer than having a debate. But I think you kind of brought out a point that I see as reasonable, right? So I have to think about some things too, right? And one of the things I have to think about is I do believe that most Christians, right, who take that label, claim to be biblical Christians, right? They'll tell you they believe the Bible and that's the book, their holy book and all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that means, well, then you're claiming that your God wrote a book that says, this about LGBT people or all these things I have a problem with, right? But I also, to your point, think it's true. I don't know, what do they call this? Mere Christianity or something, right? Mm-hmm. But if you just say, I believe Jesus died for my sins, I believe I'm saved, I believe I'm going to live for eternity because that's what God promised me. Like, I think that makes you a Christian, right?
Yeah.
And so my thing is like, if you believe Jesus died for your sins, he was alive, then he was dead, then he was alive again, and because of that, you believe in him and you're going to live forever, then I'm like, you're a Christian, right? And so I'm kind of with you. Like, you don't have to tell me, like, you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to convince me that, like, oh, I don't take this part of the Bible seriously or that part of the Bible seriously. I'm with all that because I'm going to say, like, you believe enough to call yourself a Christian, right? You believe the John 3:16, to me, you're good to go, right? So,
well, yeah, I also believe that for everybody else too, but.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of a, that's a thing we've got to deal with, right? That we've got to wrestle with this Bible thing and the problems with it. At the same time, the way most of us understand Christianity, you don't have to necessarily believe all of it. You just got to believe Jesus died and rose for your sins. So, if that's the case, you're a Christian. So, I wouldn't want you to tell me you're not unless you didn't believe that anymore, right? James, where you at on this, man? You're not here you're not on camera, so you can't get credit for sitting here looking cute, James. You got to talk.
Fair. So I don't know. I mean, I would want to have a longer discussion with Spartan if Spartan was ever up for it.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
I don't want to put Spartan on the spot. I don't know a whole lot about Spartan specific views, and I try not to call anybody out unless I have a specific problem with them. Our intention right here obviously is not to call them out, right? Like,
yeah. No, I don't feel that way at all.
That's good. So
and
that's
you
my
could
point.
ask whatever, but yeah.
I don't want to make anybody feel that way either. So, I don't know. I mean, I've not been secretive about what I think about Christianity. And I don't know how much of that Spartan's caught or how much he hasn't caught, but I mean, I guess my question for now, Spartan, is offhand, like just off the top of your head, have I said anything that you can specifically recall that kind of set wrong with you? Like you thought maybe I'd missed the mark on some point?
Yeah, I'm about to say, I wish I could remember because I know there have been times I've like posted things in the chat and disagreed. And wanted to talk about at some point.
Yeah.
But geez, I can't. Yeah.
So
I can't
one of the things I think is interesting here, because James, we talked about this a little bit. Well, actually, I want to show Lena's. comment for a second. But James, we kind of talked about this earlier where I was saying it's hard for me to let Christians go so liberal, right? Because if they do, they just don't have to be held to any sort of standard of what the Bible means anymore, right? And you were kind of like, well, look, if it gets them to a more progressive, helpful place, then we should take the win, right? And I'm kind of recognizing I don't like it, but I think that's where mere Christianity comes in, right? Because if they're going to say, I don't hate gay people, I love science, I took the vaccines, but Jesus died for my sins and rose from the grave, I think we're going to go, you're growing, you're progressive, and ... you're still a Christian, right? Like,
I mean, Christianity hasn't, like, always throughout history, always been on the side of the bad side. I mean, it has a lot of times. I'm not going to deny it hasn't been a lot of the times, but like there have been progressive things that have come out of Christianity.
Sure, I mentioned earlier on my stream today about the Quakers who led the abolition movement against slavery.
My favorite theologian, Karl Barth, who was like the head of the group that wrote the Barmen Declaration, which was like taking a stand against the Nazis in Germany, against like 90% of the Christian church that like sided with them. So, I mean, and there's like, whatever. There's strains of Christianity that are on the good side. Like liberation theology today is really like, I think, doing some really amazing things, like actually in the world and pushing for some like leftist policies and whatnot that, helping homeless people and things like that, like actually helping them like with actual policies and whatnot, not just these like going against. And what's crazy is the more I think about it, the more they're like going against like these gospel rescue missions or whatever that like try and help the homeless people that are bad. So it's kind of like I'm almost shooting myself in the foot the more I think about this. But all that's I don't know exactly where I kind of went down a rabbit trail there a little bit, but I totally see where you're coming from, I guess.
Well, Spartan, I think I want to commend you because I think it's really brave to think about these things, especially publicly. Do you consider yourself an apologist? Sorry, I was gonna say it's just
not at all.
But see, it's interesting because I like your brand of apologetics, right, James?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to just get down
to
like
Christians to be more like you, we want apologists to be more like you. Because if somebody just said to me, by Christian apologist, I just mean I'm a Christian, I'm willing to identify myself as such, and I'm willing to discuss my reasoning and thinking as a Christian just in a healthy conversation, I just think the world will be a better place. But I also understand, not seeing yourself that way. I certainly never saw myself as an apologist.
No, for sure. There's a lot of connotation, especially on YouTube, that goes along with the word apologist, obviously.
All right, so hang on a sec. I wanted to touch on what Lena said. Lena said, in my last Christian friend, what they really believed, and they gave me the merest Christianity possible. I took offense considering we grew up in the church and took apologetics together. It wasn't okay for him to call himself a Christian and present mere Christianity when we both knew he knew what my objections were. Lena, I would love to hear more about this conversation because I think it's probably super relevant too. I felt this way with my family. Like, so when I talked to my mother, for instance, she didn't hit me with like a mere Christianity, but she hit me with a very soft Christianity where somehow she wasn't that religious or it wasn't that important or something like that. Like, I guess she doesn't see herself as a religious extremist. So to her, that means that is on the spectrum of not taking it that seriously. And it just felt like the most dishonest thing possible. I mean, my mother would barely tell you her freaking name without telling you she's a Christian, right? I mean, just one of those people who literally tell you that God's the core of her identity and the reason for all of her values, and her room and everything is decorated out, and she wouldn't take a man seriously unless he's serious about his relationship. I mean, it just felt like a lie. I was like, and like I said, it was the one time I told my mother off. It was the one time she deserved it. It was because it was just like, no, sorry, you ain't gonna drag me out of bed every Sunday and tell me that shit was, optional. Like,
right.
You can sell that lie to somebody else, but you raised me, bitch. Nah, I know how seriously this family takes religion.
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of a tough one. But yeah, Spartan, I appreciate you. So you said you have these conversations with Christians, right?
Yeah.
Like, so can you reflect on that? Like, what do you get out of those? Like, what's frustrating? What do you find encouraging? Do you feel like you make headway in the conversations, or what?
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting because, I mean, like, a big one is my wife, who's much more, like, she pretty much agrees with me on a lot of things, but, like, not necessarily, and just hasn't, like, thought about this stuff as much as I have. And, I mean, really over, like, the whole pandemic is when I just got, like, obsessed with theology. That was, like, my thing. Everybody kind of got obsessed with something.
Sure.
I think. And mine was really looking into theology and kind of understanding what I believe. So, I mean, that's a big one that we have conversations all the time. And it's difficult sometimes. Like, sometimes it's good. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's been really hard when I talk to other Christians because it's very easy for them to just, like, get frustrated. I mean, there's been both really good conversations and some really bad ones and frustrating ones.
Right. Go ahead, I'm listening. I'm just moving something over here.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, so next time I say something problematic, don't hesitate to let me know, and I'll try to pay closer attention.
Yeah, I mean, there was never anything like severely disagreed or anything, but I think it was like more in the weeds type stuff.
All right.
Like, it was probably something about Paul. I swear it was somehow somebody started talking about Paul, and that's been the big thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty critical of Paul, and some Christians are too, which is actually interesting. But yeah, that was probably me.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the big thing I've studied for the past like while. Me and my buddy that we do the podcast with, like, he went to, like, he's got his master's in theology, and we talk about this stuff a lot.
Yeah, I thought about getting my master's in theology so that I could like throw that behind my name to like have these discussions.
Yeah, not to say that really means anything, because plenty of people that are self-taught know just as much as or more.
It would mean something in the context of trying to get billing to get like somebody to debate me or engage with me, because if you're a nobody with no credentials, people just ignore you. And sometimes I like being ignored, but sometimes I don't like being ignored. And a master's in theology isn't like a normal master's degree. You don't got to go to school for 5 or 6 years for that. I think it's like six months or something. It's like,
it definitely depends on the program and whatnot.
Yeah. James, I often thought that would be an amazing thing to stream. So Wayne balked because he said it's too much homework. But what if we just went to like apologetic schools, right, and just streamed everything? I mean, it'd be. I don't have the time, but like I'm just saying, if you go and get the master's in theology, James, you might as well make content out that bitch. You know what I mean? Because
you might as well.
Yeah, because it would be great for us to actually say like what they're teaching you, right, and like what that's what people want. I mean, literally, it's the content people want. Like,
right.
Yeah.
So I thought about doing an opposite to Dillahunty's show, where instead of people calling me, I call these Christian help hotlines with fake problems to see what kind of like great or bullshit advice they give me.
So James, we were watching this Dufresne Ministries thing a couple weeks ago, and so I actually set up a Google phone number and tried to call the prayer line from the show we were watching, but it was like 2 a.m. But yeah, so we have a Google phone number now, and I'm not taking it that far, but I'm thinking about prank calling some places, some prayer lines, and just to have some fun with it. Logan Fisher said they love the idea. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it'd be fun. Call some of the faith healers, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I can get serious with them. I can ask them to pray for my doubt. You know, I was just struggling with this nagging doubt.
Doubt's an interesting topic too, because some Christians will tell you you're not supposed to have any doubts as a Christian, and other Christians will tell you you are supposed to have doubts. Everyone does, and and something's wrong with you if you don't have doubts. And I never see them debating that between each other. Like,
well, Spartan, what do you think? You're a Christian.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt stuff all the time. Yeah, I don't see why it would be a problem. It seems to only make sense that if you're not doubting things, you're just being.
All right, if you guys want to hear, let's go crazy, gang. It's Friday night. Fuck it. So we all have our own philosophies, right? And couldn't tell mine gets a little serious with the role playing at times. And so I've always been into the idea of the devil's advocate. I'm into the concept. I'm into the notion of it. I'm into the legal philosophy of the concept. I'm into the movie, all that shit. You know, my favorite line of that movie is when they're like having this meeting on the rooftop. Al Pacino and you know, the main character, and he's telling me that he's like the son of a preacher's daughter or whatever. And he's like, oh, the whole thing didn't stick on you, you know. And he goes, early release for time served. I'm like, yep, that's me.
Yeah.
Like, damn, I did my couple decades and no, but seriously, so you know, it was a big part of the reason I liked being the prosecutor, right, and working in the prosecutor's office, because, you know, you were the you know, the lamb in wolf's clothing or whatever, the sheep in wolf's clothing, I guess, right? The inverse of what people normally think, right? Like, people think you're there to fuck them. We're actually here to help you, right?
Yeah.
But I approached my faith the same way, and I think it's a huge part of my deconstruction. Like, I was from a family of ministers. I went to Catholic school. We had theology class every day. So I thought of examining and looking into all of these questions as something that was safe for someone like me to do, you know, because, you know, I was a real Christian and a real believer, and if God is true, then it won't hurt to peel back all these layers so I can show people what's really there. And it just didn't go like I expected it to. But it definitely was a sort of philosophy where doubt was essential.
Yeah.
And it was definitely okay to doubt. Yeah. But I can tell why it's not for a lot of people.
Right. Yeah, I've heard some say that it's not okay to doubt, that real Christians don't have doubts. And whenever I say that, I have mixed feelings about it. Because on one hand, you know, they just threw a whole bunch of Christians under the bus. Right. If you say real Christians don't have doubts and 98% of the Christians listening to you have doubts, well, what are they thinking? They're thinking, you know, either there's something wrong with you to think it, or there's something wrong with them to have doubts. And on the other hand, I'm like, well, you might as well let your other Christian people know right now that you think that they're bad Christians or failed Christians or whatever. At least you're not keeping it a secret. So, you know, I think it's terrible. I think the doubt is an expression of an honest mind, right? Absolutely. If you have doubts, that's just a mechanism in place for honest, accountable people. If you don't have that mechanism in your brain, then something is fundamentally wrong with you, period. So
yeah, I totally agree.
And you should keep that in mind too, right? It's something, so you guys have heard of imposter syndrome, you know, that's a big part of it. Is it's like this doubt, but you don't remember that you have a healthy doubt because you want to progress, you want to make sure you're doing well, you want to make sure you finish, you want to make sure you graduate, right? And, you know, you don't. That's why it's laughable after you finish your education when people mock you for it because you're just like I couldn't fake it if I wanted to. I couldn't get, you know what I mean? It's just like you're like oh trust me, it's very legit. You may not look like it, but trust me, I remember painfully what that process was like. But yeah, you should always have that healthy skepticism of yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, Spartan, is this one of the issues that causes you doubt, like the LGBT thing, or is this not a big issue?
I mean, it is a big deal. Yeah, it's like I wouldn't say it's one of the things that like causes doubt because the way I understand it, like any sort of hate towards LGBT is completely unchristian. It seems completely against the. I don't want to like sound too. I try not to use like any sort of like Christianese language or whatever, because
sure.
But like it sounds completely like against the God that I think Jesus shows us actually exists, and I think that's like a God of unconditional love. But beyond that, so it doesn't necessarily cause me doubt because I just think they're wrong, but it causes like that's one of the big things that like makes me cringe to even call myself a Christian for sure.
Just because of sort of like the stigma of being associated with
because then you gotta kind of explain it, and then you gotta kind of like, well, are you just one of these Christians that like, just because it easily like I don't really. Like, and obviously I don't want to get into like all this kind of theology and stuff, but I don't necessarily consider myself a progressive Christian, like in a certain sense or whatever. Sure. Like I'm fine with the term, sure, but also like I disagree with a lot of progressive Christian stuff too. So it's just a lot to explain. You know what I mean? So like it makes me aggravated. You don't feel like
you're liberalizing it. You feel like you're just.
I feel like I'm trying to understand what it is.
Yeah, no, that.
But I could be wrong, and I'm totally open to being wrong. But
no, well,
I do hate that.
It's just a relative term, right? So if you say, I mean, I've always felt the same way. Like I always thought I had pretty conservative values because I don't consider myself super progressive. Like I don't consider myself woke or anything like that. But when I'm
pretty far left as far as politics.
Yeah, exactly. When I look at the reality of where I'm at compared to the rest of the population, I'm an extreme leftist because that's just where I'm at on the spectrum, right? Even if it's not necessarily how I see myself. And I think I understand that about theology. Like somebody just going, no, the Jesus of the Bible is like all loving and caring and doesn't make you like progressive or liberal necessarily feel that way.
Yeah. But to get like to go back to the original point, like it is very, very aggravating to know that like the default position of Christianity is pretty anti a lot of people, but including LGBT. So yeah, that's very frustrating.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, man, that's thanks for opening up about that. Are there other issues that frustrate you, especially stuff that may come up regularly, like in these spaces? You said you talk to other Christians, so they're...
Yeah, I mean, just like the amount that, like the biggest thing is like social issues, and then like the amount that American evangelical Christianity has like completely bent the knee to capitalism and like worships rich people like they've actually done something to earn, and like everybody just needs to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and that whole conservative mindset or whatever is what like is a large part of Christianity for sure in America, and I disagree wholeheartedly with almost everything they have to say. If that makes sense. Yeah, I'm very I consider myself maybe like a democratic socialist, or who knows, the more I research it, maybe I'm full-blown Marxist or something. I don't know.
I totally thought of Christianity and most I don't know what this is going to sound weird, but most honest and like decent contemporary religious traditions to be pretty anti-capitalist. I can't think of, maybe I'm wrong, but I can't think of like a major faith that really, so I don't know where the American Jesus capitalism thing comes from. I'm trying to think of a religion that's really capitalist. Like, it's kind of weird.
It really is. It really is. I mean, you look at, saints and monks throughout all of history, and like it obviously would look weird if they were like worshiping the richest one.
Right.
But all of a sudden it's just become like, look at like Jordan Peterson, you know what I mean? Like, we look at this guy like he's something amazing, and he's like doesn't even like call himself a Christian. It's so strange the way like they're so willing to like accept this guy just because he's like a successful rich guy basically, but he's like out of his mind and just hates everybody. He's insane. Like, yeah, I don't know.
So I asked you a question. Would you agree with me that like when it comes to certain, especially social issues, and we're dealing with certain Christians, like the more bigoted, hateful ones, that the Bible isn't helpful or isn't as helpful as we'd like it to be in terms of, certain passages? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, I think like, because it all comes down to like your interpretation and like how you want to read the text. Or so if they're going to read the text in this certain way, like, sure, they have a way of reading it that aligns with what they're trying to say. So there's no point in getting into that. And that's why I try and avoid it at all costs. Like, I don't get into like, this is what this particular, because it all comes down to like your big picture understanding. And once you get to those details, you're not going anywhere.
I see. So I wanted to ask, because I wanted to ask you a follow-up question, but I wanted to make sure I'm not putting words in your mouth first. And I think what you're saying too is if you got them to focus on the bigger picture, then they would sort of be committed to a non-hateful version of Christianity, and then they'd have to interpret things through that lens instead.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So the question I wanted to ask you is, if the Bible's not helpful, like I said, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I agree with that. What do you think would be more helpful in these conversations? Right? Like, I can't, if we're both saying like, let's not go to the Bible because they're just going to point to the hate-filled passages. What do you think is a more effective way to like?
I mean,
talk
actually
about these
building
things?
relationships with people is like the number one thing. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to just argue someone and change their mind. And I mean, we all know that, like no one changes their mind in a debate, but it's through like, I mean, you can see even like the older people in our country who have changed their mind on like LGBT issues. It's always been because like someone in their family was gay or someone in their family was trans, and they had to like come to grips with that and actually meet these people and realize, okay, well, it makes no sense to say this person like deserves eternal hell for what they're doing. Like, oh, they're actually just another person on this earth that's trying to figure this thing out. So I think it's just all about like actually having real relationships, and how that like translates to what I do on the internet, and, like arguing with people. Like, sometimes I think about it and I realize like maybe I'm just wasting my time here completely.
Because you're not building a real relationship.
Yeah, like maybe I should spend my time doing like meeting real people, or like even communities. Like, even like this, I think is good. Like what we're doing, like actually having a real conversation. But things like Twitter, and just arguing in comments is not productive.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it can be helpful to have a relationship, certainly, because then you can, hopefully realize someone doesn't, but it does get tough after a while, because I think sometimes you're in a relationship with people who won't change, and then
for sure,
it's just not productive anymore. But I mean, I certainly think that can help with more reasonable.
I think that's why you have to
people.
highlight people who are legit, and once these people show themselves as just not legit, whatever you want to say, like, yeah, you just either they can change the way they're going to act, or there's just no point interacting with, like that Lupin guy. Like, if that's the way he wants to be, there's no sense in like continually interacting with this person. But like I see a lot of you guys, like you and James and Lena and a lot of these people I've met through you guys, and like it's actual people just having conversations and just thinking through things, not really trying to change their mind, not stuck in their beliefs necessarily, but also you do feel very passionately about things you believe. There's nothing wrong with that.
Sure. Appreciate that. Lena, can you hear us? Did you want to say something? Lena's at the question podium. I know they had a question. No, maybe not. All right. That's all right. So, Spartan, people noticed that you changed your channel name?
Yeah, I just took off the theology or whatever. That was really
what's that about?
There wasn't all that much. I thought about just streaming some games or something. And just wanted to
it was because you weren't going to exclusively do theology. Yeah. I understand. People were curious about what that change was.
Yeah, it wasn't really all that much.
So, yeah, there's some stuff going in the chat. Is there anything that you want to ask me about or,
Not really that I can think of right this second. I feel like my brain's like fried from the terrible week. And it wasn't terrible, but it was a long week.
You had a long week. Yeah, me too. Yeah, you can always come back on, hit me up through Discord or whatever. So do you still watch Lupin? I blocked him on Discord. Yeah, I don't know what to do about people like that. I honestly think and this is part of my struggle is I think there's a lot of people who Christianity gives them the excuse they're looking for to be hateful. But to be honest, I think they'd be hateful people anyway.
That's what I think. Yeah, I mean, I do think it depends exactly. Like, yeah, it just gives people like a rallying point around certain forms of hate, and that is very frustrating. That like maybe these groups would be smaller or more splintered and whatnot, but. Like you say, it's just, it's very frustrating. I mean, like, if I was an atheist, I totally understand, like, just hating so much of Christianity. It's just, because, I mean, I do now. Like, me and my buddy, we talk about this a lot, and just, like, get so frustrated at, like, what Christianity is, especially in this country. Because it's not even, I mean, I think you can look through our history, too. There have been, like, parts of Christianity that aren't like this, but recently it's just gotten so right-wing craziness. It's insane. I mean, it's just absolutely insane.
Yeah, I agree. So are there any, I guess one of the questions I have for someone like you is, like, where do you go from here? Like, are you, I guess, convinced enough of the truth of the gospel that you're just ride it out as a Christian and hope you can help as many Christians see the truth along the way? Or
yeah, I mean, that's definitely interesting. And that's, I mean, I don't know necessarily, like, you're right. Yeah, that's something I don't know, and it's like crazy because that's a really work, and that's a crazy question to ask almost anybody, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anybody, but I mean, particularly like where I'm at, like kind of on the edge of things, I guess, in some sense. And I don't really know. It's just a matter of, to me, it's like in the end, like Christianity is like just like anything else. I don't know. You wake up and certain things are true or whatever, like, I don't know, self-evident to you.
Sure.
And it seems self-evident to me, I guess. And if it doesn't anymore, then it doesn't anymore, So I can't say.
Right. That's cool. So do you look into stuff like, say, the historicity of the claims or?
Yeah. I mean, I love studying all kinds of theology and biblical studies and whatnot.
YouTube Punk asks, what's Spartan's ideal Christianity?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question, but much more, socialist, like actually focused on helping people, like material conditions in the here and now, is a big part of it.
That sounds like humanism.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense. I mean, sure.
That's interesting. I think we should all think about these things, but yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping we win you over to atheism, because I think you're a good guy, but I always sometimes boil Christianity down to the basics, right? Like, so Jesus was alive, he was dead, then he's alive again. When they say yes, it's like, you're a Christian. So, as long as you're a Christian, then would certainly, happy that you're not one of the bigoted, hateful ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be one of those.
We appreciate that. All right, man. I think I'm going to end it so we can relax for a little bit. It's Friday. I want to make sure I have some time to unwind after a long week myself. Thanks so much for calling in. I really appreciate
the conversation.
Yeah, it was super fun. So hit me up on Discord anytime you want to chat again or come through when we're here in the guest room. Will do. All right, Spartan. Appreciate you, man. Take care.
You too.
All right, gang. It gets, man, it's it's hard to find a decent Christian to talk to these days. But yeah, it gets frustrating sometimes not being able to have as many conversations with believers as I'd like to. I actually canceled the conversation with Lupin for this Sunday because he's just so weaponized. I don't really see anything productive coming of it. But yeah, I really want to thank Spartan for calling in. I really appreciate it. Want to thank James for calling in too. Check out Spartan's channel. Also check out James's channel. There's a link in the description. Also, Spartan, you have a wrench. You can go ahead and drop a link to your channel for us, please. I didn't get one for the description, but if you go ahead and drop it, I'll ask people to subscribe. But yeah, guys, go ahead, head over to Spartan's channel and do give him a sub. Check out the gaming. I actually think that more of us should broaden our content. We're gonna try to do more gaming streams and just more branching out into different types of stuff ourselves. But I got to be honest with you, the participation kind of drops off because our community is like Bible and philosophy nerds. So we all say we'd want to do something else together, but then, we don't have like the same interests. So it's kind of like herding cats. I think, we should support streamers who are doing other things if you can. So be sure to check them out. And I also think it helps because like we found when we did the casino streams, we can actually like find common ground when
we have a powerful cumulative case,
not talking about these issues all the time. So, we've had some fun gaming streams and sometimes atheists come through and, we just have a good time and it's not quite as contentious all the time. So appreciate that. Check out the Spartan's YouTube channel. Thanks for the link there, Spartan. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. We're going to head to the Pinochle Lounge. So come to the Bundy Ranch. We'll be in the Pinochle Lounge. Oh, know what? Actually, we're not going to go to the Pinochle Lounge. We're going to go to the beach. It's late night. We'll go to the beach so that we can get ready for the overnight stream. So come to the beach. That's where we'll be overnight. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow. And don't forget, we've only got a few days left to find Biden's documents. Find Biden's documents. People are on top of it, man. Y'all gotta get in here. We need it. In the name of the Darwin, the Dawkins, and the Christopher Hitchens, science bless you all. Thanks for watching. Poof!
Zach? Why she wanna leave me alone? Saying all I do is wrong. No rights when they been left turns. Playing that she gotta let it burn. Saying that the house not a home. Sunshine cause she heard it all before. Sometimes she don't wanna be alone. Most times she don't want me gone. She don't know I try my all. She don't know I sprung in the sun, but I'm going in the winter, so we good to the fall. Remember how I told you I get it and I win. Now I'm got it, you ain't answering my call. Wonder if I've been moving too strong. Maybe I just been moving too boss. Really hate when the feeling get lost. Nowadays she just dodge my calls. In the game throwing laws like Paul. Young legend Miss John like Wall. And I wish you never met like Carl. Dick game lay it down like law. Made plans but you canceled them all. I was just trying to splurge in the mall. Now I'm home stacking bread till you call.
It's time to roll. She tryna slide. We smoking Zah. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl. It's time to roll. She tryna ride. We smoking. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl.
We smoking that side. I'm trying to get high. She said that she not ready for love, stop wasting my time. I got demons in my closet, I can't hide. I did all my exes wrong, they wish I died. Damn, I tried. They won't believe me when I say this. Oh my God, what a blessing. Hello Phoenix, that's my twin. I told these hoes they won't get my heart again, not again.